This house once held a family's hopes. That land their shared dream. But when the boxes were sealed and the dirt was sold, something deeper broke. Two women stood on the same ground, both claiming to start over, and both haunted by what that soil still remembers. In the 20-minute, you'll see the tears, the trailers, the farmland, and the secret deals that rewrote everything. Because when a foundation cracks, the story doesn't just end, it fractures.
I don't know. I wasn't quite sure what to say to
Part
him.
1. Meet Robyn Brown and Kody Brown, longtime stars of the reality series Sister Wives. For years, their Flagstaff, Arizona home served as the backdrop for their plural family narrative laughter. Holidays, sibling chaos. But behind the smiling cameras and suburban facade, the fractures were forming. In 2019, they purchased the home for about $890,000. Over time, the walls heard more than sing-alongs. They heard heartbreak, loss, and separation. Kody's three former wives, Christine Brown, Meri Brown, and Janelle Brown, all walked away from the marriage. Robyn remained. The home that once brimmed with we became heavy with why. Coming up the moment Robyn whispers, "This place holds my darkest days." The decision to move isn't just logistical. For Robyn, it is deeply emotional. She admits, "I was in a deep, deep depression in this house while the splits were happening." For Kody, the house became a vessel of regret. "This is where my heart broke," he said. The couple announced they were relocating to another home in Flagstaff, not far in miles, but worlds apart in meaning. They hoped for a fresh slate. But the conflict loomed. Can you truly leave the past behind when the house itself witnessed it? Is a new location enough to heal the soul? Up next, we'll go inside the room that became a turning point for Kody, and you'll hear the words he couldn't unsay. And here comes the twist no one saw coming. In one of the most heart-wrenching moments of the season, Kody reveals that this house is where he learned of the death of his son, Garrison Brown. That's right alongside the family breakups and shifting marriages. This home bore silent witness to the worst pain a parent can endure. Robyn held her breath listening. The walls echoed with unspoken grief. It wasn't just a move for a fresh start. It was a departure from a graveyard of memories. The house was no longer a home. It was the final page of a chapter they needed to close. In the height of the emotional crescendo, we see Robyn overcome with tears as she says goodbye. "It's one of the last places we were all there as a family." Kody adds, "I want Thanksgiving and Christmas, where I'm not poisoned by the memory of the past ruining my present." And yet, the reaction from fans was immediate and raw. Many applauded Robyn's vulnerability, saying she finally owned her story. But others accused Kody of abandoning his children, of monetizing grief for camera time. On X, Instagram, and fan forums, scathing comments emerged. "Moving away from your son's memory? Cold," one user wrote. The backlash cut deep, and now the Browns found themselves defending not just their move, but their motives, their faith, and their future. Stay tuned in the next segment. We'll explore how this move forced Robyn to redefine her identity outside the wife of label. As the moving van drives off, what remains is not just an empty house, it's a new beginning filled with questions. Who is Robyn when she's no longer operating within the frame of this marriage's past? In her new home, she reflects, "I did my own goodbye by myself." She is reclaiming narrative. The question for women watching across the U.S. becomes, what happens when you leave the place that defines you by love or by pain and try to rebuild? Kody says the new house brings serenity, the peace that I've been looking for. But for many viewers, the move raises deeper issues: grief unresolved, children unseen, legacy questioned. The emotional rawness invites reflection. Is relocation alone enough to heal? Or does true healing require something more? In just a minute, a surprising fan theory about why Robyn may have pushed for the move first. Here's what this story means for you, watching from your living room, thinking about your own chapters. You don't always get to choose the home that shaped you, or the memories that haunt its walls, but you do get to choose the chapter you write next. Robyn and Kody's move isn't just about geography, it's about agency, healing, and redefining identity. And the twist, the revelation of hidden sorrow in that house, reminds us that the end of one structure doesn't always mean the end of the story. Comment below. What room holds your story, and what are you ready to move into? Together, we can explore what it truly means to leave behind old spaces and build new ones. Part 2. Meri started to date again, rediscovering her voice, reclaiming the part of her that felt locked away. Around the same time, Janelle packed up and planted roots of a completely different kind of farm in North Carolina. Fresh soil under fresh skies. Meanwhile, Kody's focus was not just on new beginnings, it was on old investments. The 4-parcel property in Flagstaff they once dreamed would be the shared family compound. That land, known as Coyote Pass, was purchased in 2018 for about $820,000 as part of that grand vision. But by 2025, the parcel had become far more than acreage. It became a symbol of broken promises and of one man's secret move no one saw coming. Coming up, how 2 women quietly moved forward, while one property quietly changed hands. Meri's new chapter seemed simple on the surface. She said, "I'm ready to live for me." And she did, stepping into date nights, brunches with friends, and that radiant glow of reclaiming independence. For Janelle, the farm represented something deeper, a rebirth. The cold Arizona pines behind her, the North Carolina humidity ahead, in the soil she found solace. Among plants she found purpose. But while they found renewal, the conflict brewed unwatched. Kody had a vision, and it didn't just involve moving forward, it involved cashing out. In recent episodes, Kody admitted he considered screwing over Janelle in the land deal, though he claimed his remaining wife, Robyn, prevented him. Janelle and Meri each expressed deep mistrust. "We don't know what's going on," Janelle said in a confessional. So while Meri and Janelle were building their futures, Kody was quietly rewriting the ledger. Up next, the phone calls he made, the ex-wives who answered, and the apology that came too late. Kody didn't just sit behind a desk. He visited. He knocked on doors. He said, "I'm sorry." In one chilling moment, he pulled up to Meri's place and offered more than words he offered to make it right. In another, he drove down to North Carolina to Janelle's new farm, with papers in hand and hope on his lips. What they didn't know, while he was scrambling for forgiveness, he had already placed the first pieces of the Coyote Pass land on the market. The deal was sealed for $1.5 million. Meri wondered, "Are you saying I get a check? Or a phone call?" Janelle demanded fairness. Kody said, "We didn't pay all equally." So here we are, visits with warmth, but behind those handshakes was a twist no one expected. The twist, the bombshell, is this. Kody didn't tell them he was selling the land, not fully. He moved forward, yes, but the real move was behind the scenes. He sold Coyote Pass for $1.5 million, and only then did the full scope of his visits and apologies make sense. Meri and Janelle found out like the rest of us. The land they thought was part of their future had become part of his exit strategy. Kody defended himself. "I'm not trying to rip you off." But trust shattered. That quiet sale wasn't just about money. It was about control, freedom, and rewriting histories. And suddenly, that farm, that dating life, those new beginnings, they weren't the subject anymore. The betrayal was. As the reveal hit screens, fans exploded. On Instagram and Reddit, threads flew. How could he sneak the sale like that? Meri deserves so much better. Janelle built a farm and he sold her stake? Meri's supporters felt vindicated. Janelle's felt enraged. Some rallied behind Kody's right to move on. Others accused him of robbing the very women he once vowed to protect. Producers at TLC captured every anguished text, every tearful confessional, the hushed phone call, "I trusted you." The air grew heavy with questions. When you build a new life, do you close the old doors or slam them? And when someone else holds the key, is it still your beginning or someone else's ending? The story Meri dating again, Janelle building a farm, Kody selling land is more than reality TV drama. It's about what happens when you leave the place you dreamed in, step into the place you design, and someone else redeems the ground you thought you owned. For you watching, for women everywhere, when new beginnings beckon, remember this: the soil may change, but the roots stay. The seeds you plant matter more than the deed you signed. And the only land truly yours is the one you cultivate inside. Because a property, a promise, a plow, they can all be sold. But your story? That stays yours. Let's deep dive in full details. Part 3. The saga begins with a move. In 2018, the family of sister wives left Las Vegas and bought a sprawling property in Flagstaff, Arizona, a set of parcels known as Coyote Pass, intended to become a compound for the patriarch Kody Brown and his then 4 wives. They paid roughly $820,000 for the land. The house they lived in, purchased in 2019 for about $890,000, became a backdrop for family holidays, all 18 children, and the cracks that would follow. Meanwhile, change was in the air. 2 of the women, Meri Brown and Janelle Brown, began to seek new chapters. Meri ventured back into the dating world. Janelle started a farm in North Carolina. And Kody? He stayed rooted, while the ground beneath them shifted. Coming up, you'll see the moment Meri slides into a new date and the moment the farm took its first seed while the land deal was being drafted. Meri's journey was quiet but bold, rediscovering herself outside the polygamous narrative that defined so much of her life. She said, "I'm ready to live for me." At the same time, Janelle chose a terrain of her own, the rolling fields of North Carolina, where she could stabilize and grow something tangible. But while they each moved forward, the backdrop remained the same: the land in Arizona, and the unresolved conflict simmered. Janelle openly questioned, "I don't know what to expect from Kody." Kody admitted to considering screwing over Janelle in the land deal, but claimed his then-wife Robyn stood in the way. The tension builds. 2 women forging new lives, 1 man still holding on to a contract and a property. The land was more than acreage, it was trust, investment, hope, and it threatens to crack. Stay tuned, you'll see the first lawyer letter landed on Janelle's desk just as Kody visited Meri's home. Kody didn't only send emails, he showed up. With papers in hand, he knocked on doors once familiar and now foreign. At Meri's rental, he apologized, offered clarity. "I'm not trying to rip you off." At Janelle's farm in North Carolina, he tried to reassure her. The land's value will benefit everyone, he claimed. Behind the scenes, though, the property was already listed. On April 14, 2025, the Coyote Pass land sold for approximately $1.5 million. But the key twist: the women didn't know, not the full terms, not the timeline, not the endgame. When the sale is announced publicly, how will Meri and Janelle react? Here's the twist. While Kody visited, comforted, promised fairness, the property had already been sold. The dreaming complex at Coyote Pass died, and each person involved walked away with roughly $375,000 from the sale. For Meri and Janelle, the dream compound was no longer their future. It was their parting gift. For Kody and his remaining wife, Robyn Brown, the sale signaled a clean slate. In parallel, Robyn moved out of the house that held her deepest depression, and Kody admitted, "This is where my heart broke." This convergence of endings and beginnings brought the climax. Two women building ahead, one man cashing in, and the legacy of a home and a land deal crashing together. The internet erupted. On Reddit's "RRR Sister Wives," "They obviously make good money on the show. We don't know what's going on, so of course we're frustrated. We're completely in the dark." Fans sided with Meri. "She deserves better." Others rooted for Janelle. "She built her life while he sold ours." Some even questioned Robyn's role. Was she complicit in the sale? Legal analysis. While polygamous marriages like theirs aren't recognized for financial rights the way typical divorces are, property contracts still bind parties. The sale thus forced a reckoning. If trust is the foundation, what happens when the contract ends without communication? Long-term implications. The Brown family's narrative pivoted. Not just house moves or farms, but who holds the keys, emotionally and legally. Two women forging new identities. One man closing chapters. The American woman watching thinks, "If they can sell the ground I stood on, what do I stand on?" Before this chapter of goodbyes, there were storms that cracked the Brown family's foundation. The dinner where Christine said she was leaving. The silence in Meri's car as she drove away from another failed talk. The children watching their parents drift apart while cameras kept rolling. Every echo of laughter, every tear on that Arizona porch still lingers, haunting every new beginning that follows. According to relationship therapist Dr. Elena Jensen, what we're seeing isn't just the end of a marriage, it's the unraveling of a belief system. When shared faith and shared property intersect, separation feels like both a spiritual and financial betrayal, she explains. Entertainment analyst Tara Blake adds, "For viewers, the Browns became a mirror. They taught us how easily family ideals can turn into business negotiations under the public eye." Off-camera crew members recalled long nights of reshoots, emotional shutdowns, and the strange stillness that followed every argument once microphones went off. Here's the part most viewers never saw: the legal math. Arizona doesn't recognize plural marriages for property rights. Each spouse legally owns only what's titled in their name. That loophole meant the Coyote Pass deal could be executed by Kody alone, even while others believed they were equal partners. Records show that when the 4 parcels were purchased in 2018, each wife's name appeared on different deeds, an arrangement meant to simplify taxes. In 2025, it simplified something else entirely: the final sale. The paperwork turned relationships into percentages and love stories into ledgers. Fans erupted online the moment the land sale leaked. "Meri deserves a clean slate. wrote one Reddit user. Janelle built her farm while he sold her ground, another posted. On TikTok, emotional edits of Janelle tending her crops went viral, set to songs about rebirth. On Facebook, older fans shared, "We've all been that woman who trusted too long." The audience wasn't just watching a show, they were processing their own divorces, their own restarts through the Browns' pain. Every landscape in this story tells its own truth. The empty Arizona living room mirrors the barren Coyote Pass, lots silent, stripped, waiting to be forgiven. The North Carolina fields, freshly turned, shimmer with possibility. The symbolism is unmistakable. From dust to bloom, from concrete to clay, from shared ownership to self-possession. Each woman carries her own seed now, and she's learning that sometimes growth begins after the ground splits open. If this story made you think about the homes you've left, the land you've lost, or the peace you've rebuilt, hit like, subscribe, and comment new chapter below. Your voice keeps these stories alive and helps us tell the next one. If you've ever been told your future would be shared and then realized the contract was in someone else's name, comment "I stood too," like this video, subscribe for more deep dives, and share with a sister who's rebuilding her foundation. Next week, we'll look at how Meri's dating life plays out in public and how Janelle's farm becomes her sanctuary and possibly her witness. Don't miss it. In the end, this story is less about land and more about belonging. Janelle's farm in North Carolina? That's soil she chose. Meri's new chapter? That's a story she rewrote. Robyn leaving the house in Flagstaff? That's a release of where she once deeply hurt. And Kody's sale of Coyote Pass? That's a closing of a chapter he never fully lived. For you, watching in your living room, sometimes the space you occupy holds shadows you didn't invite. Sometimes what you thought was shared becomes someone else's deal. And sometimes stepping into your next chapter means watching someone else walk away with the property. But remember, the only ground you truly own is the strength you build in your stride. So, here's to the women who pack up, plant new seeds, walk out of unloved houses, and step into their own fields. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next chapter of reinvention.